We say she's kind of the Christy Alley of
yes,
Cheers,
she is, absolutely.
Right?
Yes, absolutely, Christy Alley.
Deborah
Stop
Flores.
making me blush.
Deb Flora in the house. This is fantastic.
Great to be with you all. Hey, thanks for coming to my neighborhood. This is my husband's favorite breakfast place. I know that's why you planned it this way, right?
It is.
Thank you.
We said, where does Deb want to go? And then, now here's the thing. Before we start to the deeper conversation, since this is your favorite thing, what is the Deb Flora go-to breakfast item?
Well, there
What
you
is
go.
it?
You know, one thing I have to give a shout out to Doug's. They are amazing, friendly, great food. And here's the challenge. They have something called the Papas, and if you can't handle it, they have the Wimpies.
Oh, yes.
So the challenge is on. But I'm kind of a traditionalist. I get the Eggs Benedict. My husband, who grew up in Southern Ohio, farm community, he gets the basic. I mean, it's just the basic is great. Thick bacon. It's just, there we go. I could go on and on.
Now, talk to me about Eggs Benedict. I'm a connoisseur of that. Talk to me about how they use the Canadian bacon and the hollandaise sauce, because those are really the two ingredients
they are.
inside of that. So,
You know what? It's excellent. That's what I have to say. It is thick bacon. It's just thick ham that is in a Canadian bacon.
Yep.
Excellent. Everything about it is. Plus, I just love the fact that it's locally owned. And you guys, by the way, forgot a high school team jersey. Our son played for Chaparral, and it's right over there. Thank you very much.
Oh, nice
he played football for Chaparral. He's now in college playing football.
That's fantastic.
There you go. Sorry, not to call you out, but
now we got the Blake, the sports guy here. What position does he play?
He is a wide receiver. He actually received a scholarship to play at an amazing Christian conservative university in Northwest Iowa.
What's the name of it?
It's Dordt University.
Dordt.
And then
they play Co, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It's
Co?
an NAIA school, but I have to say it's good heritage. My dad played basketball for the Iowa Hawkeyes, so we're just
That's
got
awesome.
the roots going down.
So they're an NAIA program.
Yes, they are.
That's
yes,
so
they
funny.
Are.
Right before you said that, my nephew just texted me his practice plays. He's a freshman at an NAIA school in Nebraska.
Well, and here's the best thing I can say. Football is great. It brought him there. But when all the riots were going on all the campuses, the pro-Hamas riots, I asked our son what was happening at his school. Well, that week, they had Vivek Ramaswamy. They had Donald Trump. They had the governor of Florida. And he said, and then we didn't talk so much about, the politics of it. They actually let the students think and, question. But it's a great school. And there are some still out there like that.
Yeah, there are. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, so you've got a big event coming up here.
Yes,
Deborah Flora. Tell us all about the March for Kids.
You got it, 100%. Well, actually, Jeff, I met Tina Deskovich at the Western Conservative Summit last summer when we were broadcasting when I was still on KNUS. And we started talking about this vision because you look in history, and most of the movements in history get to a certain point, plateau, and then they peter out. They do not reach critical mass.
Yep.
Very few have. You've got the suffrage movement, you have the civil rights movement. So we started talking about what would it take to get the parental rights movement, educational freedom, protecting girls' safe spaces and sports, letting every child flourish. What would it take to get that to critical mass? Because as you know, I've been involved in this for a long time, flipping our own school board, starting Parents United America. My husband and I did the documentary, Whose Children Are They? And we said, you know what? It's time to gather together. So Tina was studying the Civil Rights March that Martin Luther King Jr. had at the Lincoln Memorial. And we thought, you know what? This transcends, and we need to galvanize everyone together. So this Saturday, March 31st, in Washington, D.C., we're having the first ever March for Kids. And it's a rally because of security concerns. We were going to have it at the Jefferson Memorial. I think we all know it's a pretty chaotic environment out there in many ways, so it's going to instead be at the DAR building. But I'll be speaking alongside Tulsi Gabbard, Dr. Alveda King, Glenn Beck, and many others who've been on the front lines of this movement. So I invite everyone to join us. This is a chance to show everyone, people from every walk of life. We have, the Muslim dads in Detroit. We have people that are, from different communities, from every walk of life. So this is for everyone to come. Go to March for for Kids. That's FOR, March for Kids. We want to see you there.
Now, is there a way that it may be, we don't have the time to go and join you in D.C.? Is there a way to stream or watch online as well? Can I find it March for Kids?
That is a great question, and I will find that out. But I will say everything you want to know is at the March for Kids, FOR Kids.
I bet it's there. Yeah.
And you can be a part of the movement. And we're building to make this the next longest ongoing march in D.C. after the March for Life.
Yeah, wonderful.
Right. Yeah, because it's a way to let everyone know that even though COVID is past, that was a revolution amongst parents, that parents haven't gone back to sleep. They understand they've got to stand up for their children's rights. So it's going to be a great event.
Colorado has a unique history with the Parental Bill of Rights. They tried to do it in the 90s as a ballot initiative, and it failed. Basically, the argument being, well, now parents are just going to be able to abuse their kids and won't be held accountable for it. We've got some work to do. Mm-hmm. We've tried to run those down at the state capitol, the idea of Parental Bill of Rights and strengthening that, and parents should know if their kids get an abortion or want to trans. We shouldn't be hiding that. But the progressives seem to shoot this down over and over and over again. They seem to have no problem whatsoever hiding what they're doing to your kids from parents. Why is that, you think?
You know, it's the reason why we named our documentary Whose Children Are They? It's the fundamental question of our time. There is one view, and I was in the Soviet Union, I talked about this, where they really do believe the state has the right, the authority, the moral obligation to educate a child on everything, worldview, political view, and the ultimate allegiance is to the state, and it's a statist view. We know here in the United States of America that the family is the building block of Western civilization. And by the way, no bureaucrat knows what your kid likes to eat or doesn't like to eat, what keeps them up at night, what brings a great joy. Anyone who's had more than one child knows how different they are.
Well, and the best example I have of how no one really pays attention to kids is, have you ever seen dads at a multiple family barbecue?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where like everybody's standing around. Who's watching the kids? I don't know. I don't know who's actually in charge of watching little Jimmy.
Yeah.
Because nobody's really in charge, right?
Right.
And that's what happens with the state. I understand your kids, teachers are going to educate your kids, all that stuff. But who's ultimately responsible for those details? Yeah. They're not paying that close of attention.
Well, we've gotten so far from academics in school, and this isn't for we're pro-teacher. The reality is teachers have been asked to be everything from social justice warrior creators to mental health therapists to SEL experts, instead of just getting to teach academics. And I have a great conversation with Democrats, with unaffiliated, and with Republicans, because this transcends partisan lines.
Yeah.
I asked them, do you think education is better than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago? I mean, statistically, we know it's abysmal.
Yep.
Even here in Colorado, the latest statistics, I'm not sure, but less than 40% read at grade level, less than 30% do math at grade level. If we want children to flourish, time to get the schools back to teaching writing, reading, arithmetic, science, and by the way, critical thinking. That's like the most important thing for life.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And Deb Flora joining Jeff and Bill live. Yes, she is back in her old stomping grounds talking about the March for Kids. It is kicking off the first time ever, going to be eventually the second largest march in this entire country right after the March for Life, March for Kids. But you can be there on the inaugural day coming up this Saturday in D.C. Check out the website, March for Kids, FOR, March for Kids. Now, Deb, I understand what you're talking about with the parents and getting them involved in the teachers. I have a lot of educators in my family, 4 directly, and one of the people that's been involved in education for years told me a story, and I always come back to this one, where the child is sitting in the office and the child has been misbehaving. The child, and this is in high school, there should be something disciplinary going on, and they're talking about, is this going to be another suspension or is this going to be an expulsion? And they're talking about this behavior is happening over and over and over and over in the school. And the mother stares across the desk at the educators and says, Well, you have them 7 hours a day. Why can't you fix them?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness
And
gracious.
that's what they're looking at. Is there are people out there that are saying, and this is where our schools, in my opinion, the teachers' unions, but also the schools, are getting this backwards, is they're coming in as if they have to fix the kids. That's not their role. Not at all. They need to educate the kids, and we need to get back to that and putting more on the idea of the onus of the parents, and that's where you're going with the March for Kids.
It is, 100%.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, it takes every side.
Yes.
The parents that we're talking about, they're coming to the March for Kids, relish their role as the parents and want to advocate for that. There has been a period of time where parents have been told, drop your kid off at the schoolroom door and stay out of everything else. That's not most of the teachers, because they're bearing with having to deal with the incredibly challenging discipline problems. It's dangerous to be a teacher right now in many schools.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be everyone coming together, parents and teachers, those who are in the community, and it's really what we need to get back to. But I want to share another bright spot, because one of the other things I'm doing is I've been on the board of ACE Scholarships. ACE is an organization that has provided scholarships to low-income students for over 25 years, I believe it is. And the statistics prove themselves. The motto is no child should be trapped in a failing school because of their zip code. I mean, there's a school in downtown Denver. When I was speaking at the school choice rally, there's a school just a stone's throw from the Capitol building where less than 10% of the students read at grade level, less than 7% do math at grade level.
Wow.
How are those students supposed to achieve anything?
Right.
And the goal is to allow school choice. It benefits, by the way, those who are in lower income, failing schools more than anyone. So anyway, ACE Scholarships is also leading the way on something called ESAs. This is happening all over red states where it is an education savings account. Right now in Utah, where ACE is the program manager, every family in this lower income bracket gets $8,000 for their kids' education. It's going to be an exciting thing to see around the country as that kind of educational freedom really expands.
Now, can you talk to me about the ESAs? How do they get access to that educational money? When does it kick in? Because what I'm worried about are there's some people going to go, hey, the kid just got $8,000. We have $8,000 now on our account. So I know there's going to be some guardrails.
Yes.
How does the money kick in, and when does it kick in? Because it's a great idea.
Well, many states have done this. Some states like Arkansas, and I believe it is Arizona, the state actually, facilitates it. But for instance, in Utah, they've hired ACE Scholarships to be the program manager. And yes, the balance always is accountability and yet freedom for the parents.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the parents, sign an affidavit that they're using for educational purposes, and they are.
No new PlayStations.
Yeah, no Mercedes-Benz, although you can't get one for $8,000, right? So
it's more like a PlayStation.
But I think this is where we need a cultural shift back to trusting the parents. Yeah. There are guardrails, but at the end of the day, every parent knows their child best. And by the way, with this micro school, homeschool, new innovative school model, the price of education has plummeted. Yeah. When you look at some areas in urban centers where they're spending $30,000, $40,000 a student.
Right.
And what are we getting for it? I mean, that's where taxpayers. Yes. Administrators have gone up about 75%. At the same time, teachers have gone up 17%.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a problem. But there's a lot of bright spots, and it's happening all over the place, especially in D.C. this Saturday. Hope everyone joins us.
March for Kids. The website is marchforkids.com. marchforkids.com, fighting to restore the idea of parental rights. Look, I mean, the big thing for people to understand is that there's an agenda being driven by a worldview that the state belongs to kids, right? And I think as parents learn more and more about these stories, like Brandy Bradley's story, we had her on yesterday, 15-year-old going to world history. Let's talk about, Leonardo da Vinci and gender fluidity and how Mona Lisa is a depiction of his feminine side. You're just it's such a load of crap.
How about you talk about
Nobody
his
wants
inventions,
to deal with
his
this.
art,
Right.
his philosophy, the fact that he, revolutionized during the Renaissance period thinking.
But we're going to send kids to school to do that. I think parents are we're done. We're done. And there's all these great alternatives.
There are.
They're ready to move on.
And it is something where we have to stay awake. My concern about the parental rights movement is once kids went back into school, it's easy to not pay attention anymore.
Yep, right.
Doesn't mean that suddenly the programs are fixed from what they saw. So people need to stay vigilant. They need to let people know that the parental rights movement is alive and well, and that it is simply about the flourishing of every child. And one of the areas that we're standing on is obviously protecting girls' sports and safe spaces.
Yep,
I mean, that transcends every partisan divide. Everybody understands a young girl should not be forced to shower next to an anatomical male.
Intact. That's like the worst.
Not even just the showering. The idea of putting a female on a competitive platform with a biological male. That can't work. There's a reason why we fought for years, and this is personal for me because I was in an era where we didn't have a lot of girls' sports, and the girls in my life had to fight tooth and nail to get their own teams. The last thing that the high schools wanted to do was fund their teams. They didn't want to spend any money on it at all. And now they finally have teams that are succeeding, and now we want to have other people crossing into it. And again, I'm fine with many of the transgender rights and areas, and we may disagree on a number of those. But as far as sports, it is not an even playing field because there are hardcore biological differences. That's why we have difference in the sports to begin with. Other than that, we just cut it all off and just call it sport and everybody show up, and it's crap.
Well, 100%. And the reality is studies have shown girls perform better in school and they have lower risk behavior every way you look at it when they get the confidence of competing in sports.
Yes.
What are we communicating to a young girl? I spoke to her mother the other day whose daughter loved running. She loved track. Her entire idea was she wanted to go to the Olympics. Whether that led her there or not, something comes out of competition that is amazing. This young girl doesn't want to compete anymore because she's seeing what's going on. And she basically said, Mom, they just took my dream from me. That is not correct. It is not right. It is not fair. And there is a way in a complex society, Bill, to make sure that students who are gender fluid have a place that they compete.
Absolutely.
You know, you can do this without taking away the rights of girls and young women.
Absolutely, because we carved out women's sports.
Yes.
That we can carve out another group of people if we want to as far as sports. And you're absolutely right about the benefits of girls that are inside of competition, because one of the things, regardless, male, female, doesn't matter, transgender, if you're involved in that kind of competition, the thing the student learns is time management.
Yes.
They understand all the extra demands on their life, and they've got to make sure that the schoolwork is done as well. And that's why you will see, and across the board, you will see student athletes do better during the season than out of season.
Right.
And you may have that experience with your son.
Oh, my goodness. The discipline that our son has as a student athlete is amazing. And it's not about even the winning, although you want to strive for excellence. It's about the skills, the confidence, the sense of fairness. In the United States of America, to say that a young girl who spent her entire life working on something, all we have to do is look at what happened in the Olympics. That image of the boxer on her knees weeping, not because she wasn't tough, but because everything she worked for, what she did with her dad, her goal literally was just taken from her. And that is not right. And everybody knows it. We're going to win on this issue.
Because it's not an even playing field.
Deborah Flora, you can follow her on X at Deborah Flora 1, Deborah Flora 1, and she is representing and will be speaking at the National March for Kids this Saturday.
DAR building
August
in Washington, D.C.
31st, that's right. DAR building, Washington, D.C. You can learn more about it at marchforkids.com. That's marchforkids.com. We're easing her back into the saddle here. We're getting some interviews going.
Somebody's got to come keep you guys in line.
Someone's got to keep me in line. I'm the real problem on the show.
Well, Bill, I was looking at you. For anyone that couldn't see that on the radio.
You were staring right at me. And hopefully maybe we can catch up with you next week, because I'd love to get a postmortem on what happens at the March for Kids, as far as what were the speakers like, what was the energy like, and what you guys were talking, and just to get people excited about what's coming up, because I believe this can be the second largest march in this country.
I agree. Thank you, Bill.
Deborah,
absolutely.
Flora, thanks so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you,
now go get your Eggs Benedict. Go make sure you get that Eggs Benedict.
You're going to see it. It's phenomenal.
Excellent. I can't wait.